All right, here we are. We are live right now, and it's super exciting. We have a great guest today. We're going to talk about some interesting topics from data scraping, how LLMs are leveraging the public data, and how you can leverage it too. So before we start, we'll just spend a little bit of time waiting for the others to join. And meanwhile, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? And just want to say hi to our awesome viewers. If you have any questions, this is the right time. Put it in the chat. I'll make sure that I ask our guests during this interview. Okay, so I'm not seeing a lot of people, so I would like to see comments, making sure that we are live and our viewers can watch this right now. Just waiting for the first comments to come. All right, here we go. We got some of the comments. Hello, hi Dinesh from India, Paula from Barcelona. We got Manish from US. Hello. And from India again. So yeah, would love to see where else you're watching this, because essentially we always get people from all over the world, and based on the time zones and availability, we are sometimes lucky to get more from one region. And I think today is very, very aligned with Europe. Looking forward to see a lot from, I guess, Europe and APAC region as well. It's going to be a little bit late for my mates in Australia and New Zealand, but hopefully we'll see some of them still watching this. All right. So just want to make sure that everybody watching. So this is going to be an interesting talk. You know, a lot of times we have conversations about how these LLMs are built, what is the public data, how can we leverage that, what is the legal and ethical sort of implications of these kind of data. And today we have the expert to talk about all of this. So without further ado, I'll add our guest to this to the feed. Hi, Or.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to do a quick intro, although I don't think you need an intro. So Or is the CEO of Bright Data, the leading company for web data since 2018. He has driven innovation in real-time data infrastructure while advancing ethics, transparency, and compliance. He's a recognized voice in AI and data policy, and he leads Bright Data in powering thousands of organizations with scalable, responsible web access. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Awesome. All right. I'm just going to jump right into it. Or everybody is excited but wants to hear from you. So let's just start with the big picture. Why is this public web data becoming so central to the AI race today, especially with the explosion of LLMs?
Yeah, I think for all the obvious reasons. So we all use AI in our daily lives. Doesn't matter what your preferred chatbot is or what AI infrastructure you embed within your organization. Everything is essentially comes together into like three main pillars or elements that those companies, the LLM labs, require. The first thing is just very smart people to write the best code. That's the algorithm part. And open source and open weights are becoming really good and closing the gap between towards closed source and closed weights. The second element that is very crucial and important, obviously, that's the compute, just the sheer power to train the models. And that's also becoming more available, still expensive, but more available than before. And the third element is the data that you need to ingest into these models all the time, as much as you can, to get them better. And that's actually the opposite trend of what we're seeing in the compute and in the algorithm, is that the amount of data you need to ingest is increasing, actually doubling like every 8 months. That's the recent numbers. And this is why it's becoming such an important element for everyone who's building any AI product. And web data, it's a segment in data, and that's the main driver or the main fuel when it comes to finding data sources to train the models. So this is the obvious, but the true reason. You just need more data to get better AI models.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, full-heartedly agree. I think this is one of the obvious things in the AI world, at least to the professionals and practitioners. I remember back in the days, my boss, like a long time ago, would come to me and say, "Can you build an AI to do this?" And I'm like, "Where is the data?" And it's not a magic sort of a magic box. We need to come up with
And
some
how
data.
good is the data?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's the beginning. Is like, where is the data? And then that's just the beginning of the problem, where now you need to do the process to see if it is the right data. It has the sort of the quality, and is it ready to be ingested? All the problems that we need to go through. But essentially, with the web data, now we have a problem of like how to collect them, right? So that's where web scraping comes. And I know Bright Data is the leading company of doing web scraping and a lot of other stuff. But I would like you to just tell us a little bit about the history and how it evolved, essentially from where it used to be. It's more controversial, and now it's just essential for all the big tech companies to leverage this.
Yeah, so we've been doing that for a while, since 2014, when we started the company with one goal in mind, which is still that one goal in mind that we have today. Not even a goal, you know what? That's an obsession. And that's allowing everyone who wants to be able to collect data from the web as long as it's public. 10 years ago, a lot of companies needed to do that. And I think the best example is e-commerce. So all of these e-commerce platforms that kind of were born to the digital era, they started that even before Bright Data. So the Amazons of the world were scraping each other even before Bright Data, just to be more competitive and to understand what their competitors are doing online in order to eventually sell more. That hasn't changed. It just evolved. So in the last decade, from being kind of in the sidelines and doing that only if you really know what you're doing and understand that this is an edge for your business, it became something that every company must do. It's not even like a technical expertise that you might have or not have. If you don't know what's going on in the world, you will lose as a business. It's true if you're an offline brick and mortar supermarket that needs to stay competitive with the prices of the tomatoes that you're selling. And this is why you need to understand what's the other supermarket at the end of the street, how they're selling their products. And for sure, it's true for in the digital world. Just think about you and all the listeners. Just think about yourself trying to buy something online, book a flight ticket, or even just reading content and hopefully seeing a relevant advertisement that is related to the context of what you're reading. you can't really achieve all of that in a way that will be valuable for the end user, all of us, if the business that you're using their platform isn't collecting data from the internet. This is why our business grew so much, and this is why the whole industry is growing so much, even before we're talking about AI. So all of this is just progressing really, really fast. So in the last decade, from just starting a company to really being the leaders in anything that is related to web data collection, web scraping, pretty much in every parameter. We're seeing huge amounts of scale and data going through our platform on a daily basis, and serving all of these like industries that I mentioned: e-commerce, online travel, financial institutions and banks, and academic institutions, and marketing tech, cybersecurity, all of these. And obviously, I would say since early 2023, also the AI industry, after it was completely booming and everyone needs more data, and more means deeper into the websites themselves, but also broader into more websites and more fresh. So in real time, even if it's data that they have, they need more and more of it to stay fresh. So this is kind of the evolution that we're seeing from an industry perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, as you mentioned, like we came a long way, but this is something very, this is something that has been used for a very long time. And Bright Data has a full stack approach to support this. I would like you to tell us more about how Bright Data is supporting this modern AI workflow, and what are the most demands today for these data, or the whole infrastructure?
Yeah, so as I started 12 minutes ago, saying that we have one goal or one obsession in mind, which is unlocking every piece of public information on the web. Every technology or product that we're building, every feature, every button is aimed towards that. Mm-hmm. We innovate a lot on that front, over 5,000 granted patent claims for Bright Data, all surrounding this obsession and goal of collecting web data. And from a product philosophy point of view, yeah, we truly believe that we need to own the whole stack, which I'll explain what it is in a second, in order to get our customers the real value that they're looking for. It means that we want to own, and we do own, everything from like the bare metal, which is the proxy infrastructure that you can do everything on your own, but eventually you need an exit point to the internet that will allow you to visit the website from a certain location. That's a proxy infrastructure. That's like the equivalent to the racks of the servers in a way, up to the tip of the iceberg, which is, I like to call it the just get me the damn data product line, which is, if you're a customer with no technical skills, or you have no motivation to do any of it on your own, you just need to buy the curated, qualified, QA'd data set that your model needs, then you'll get that, and everything in between. So you can decide, depending on your technical skills and just your motivation, how much you want to do on your own, and how much you want to let Bright Data take over. But it's important to say that we're a product company, so all of our products are for engineers to use. And also we have a professional or a managed services department that can also do these things for you. But the majority of the business is 20,000 companies and their engineers using Bright Data on a daily basis to collect data from the web with all of the tech stack that we've built. The most recent releases and features that we had specifically towards the AI industry is a lot of improvements to our web unlocker layer. And that's a product layer that takes full responsibility on the unlocking of the website. It practically means that we tell our customer, or the agreement with the customer is, you'll do the scraping, you know what data you want, you already have these machines running, but it's really, really difficult to actually unblock the website. It's a lot of technology and knowledge that you need to have. You don't have it. It's our job. It's our business. It's our bread and butter. Just call an API endpoint, and the door to the website will be opened. We see that's probably the major usage growth that we're seeing in the last few quarters, all coming from large AI companies and LLMs. And also investing a lot in our browser infrastructure, which is now becoming the baseline and the infrastructure for everyone pretty much that is building a browser agent that wants to automate human behavior on the web. What we've seen is that to collect web data, you need to do that. You need to automate human behavior on the web. So for years, we've been building our browser infrastructure to support that and to support the activity of our customers. And it works perfectly for browser agents and for agentic AI because it's essentially exactly the same operation. It's just that the goal in scraping is to download an HTML, but it's as easy to do just to click another button. For example, book a taxi, book a flight, book a restaurant. This is what all these agents are currently working on building. So that's something that we invest a lot in right now.
Oh, that's awesome. As you said, the major customers are currently these LLM builders, which is essentially, obviously, it makes a lot of sense because they need a lot of data and they want as much as public data and available data as possible to build their large language models, right? But we're seeing a new sort of phenomenon, a new idea. It's like models actually scraping each other and like essentially distilling models. It's a kind of a new thing that is happening. We have heard some of the examples of, for example, DeepSeek has used allegedly some of the frontier models. But essentially, I would like to get your thoughts of this new practice, and are we entering LLM cannibalism?
So I can classify the use of data by LLMs to three main aspects. I'm sure if we'll talk in a year's time, it's going to be 3 more, if not 30. But for now, the main usage is going first and foremost to everything that is related to the training phase and the fine-tuning phase. That's not going to end. You're not just training, at least from our perspective, what we're seeing, you're not training a model once and that's it. You need to keep improving it. And as the model is improving, you're able actually to also sell it not just to end users like us that are talking to the chat, but also to enterprises that needs perfect models that are fine-tuned to what they're doing, their use case, their industry. And for that, you need even more data that is more accurate and specific. So these things just keeps growing. And actually, the growth trend is accelerating. That's the first aspect that we're seeing. The second one is everything that is related to inference time, test time compute, all of these things. Basically, the models are trying to be more accurate and to win more points on the evil tests, just so you'll use them and not their competitor, which is great. And we see that they're doing or trying to do mainly 2 things. First thing is unrelated to bright data. That's investing more compute in order to think more. Eventually, there's a person waiting for the answer, so there's a limit to how long you can think, and also it's very expensive. The second thing that we're seeing is that they're using us and actually our traditional scraping solutions that we invented and built for all of the industries to collect more real-time data in the context of the user's prompt to give you relevant and fresh information, and also to add more context around that answer that the LLM planned to give you. Also very important that the latency will be low, and we need to be super fast because, again, eventually there's a user and waiting for the answer. And the third aspect that we're seeing, and this is what you mentioned. We're seeing AI companies, not just LLMs, and also not just AI companies, basically companies with some AI angle that are starting to collect data, as long as it's public, from the LLMs and the chatbots and the AI companies themselves. Just think about everyone collecting data from e-commerce websites, from search engines. It's only makes sense that if more internet users are using these LLMs, there will be more valuable data there, and this data will be collected by everyone, including the competing LLMs. So we are definitely seeing that.
All right, that's very interesting. And you mentioned public, as long as it's public. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. All right. A lot of people ask this question: is it ethical? Is it legal to scrape the data from the public platforms like social media or websites? And who owns it? Who owns this data?
I'm happy to say, first of all, that it's not an elephant anymore. Maybe in previous years it was an elephant. Now it's more of a mouse. A lot thanks to Bright Data and our efforts to, first of all, build the company in a way that it's ethical and compliant. I'll talk about that. And then also taking these norms and like self-regulations that we decided on to the world, to the industry, and also even proving them in court and making them the standards of the industry. So first, let's start with the basic question. Web scraping is absolutely 100% legal. No doubt on that. It's maybe, if it's not clear to someone, let's make it clear. But you can do it in a way that will not be fair, will hurt the website, or slow the website, maybe collect data that should not be collected. All these things might happen. This is why, first of all, you need to be aware as a scraping company, but also as a company that is using a scraping company to scrape the web or doing it themselves. Second thing is that you need to care. You can actually do damage. You need to care in order to not do that. And then the third thing is that you need to adopt the right self-regulation. I'm saying self because so far there isn't like an official regulation. We're pushing for that, but it's still self-regulation, and implement the right measures and precautions to ensure that you'll do it the right way. And I'll give a few examples to be more specific. Let's talk about personal information. Personal information can be in the public domain. Maybe you, Steve, published your email somewhere on a public domain, even because you want people to reach out to you. It's still your private information. In Europe, it considers PII. In California and other states, it's also considered similar definition. You need to care as a company that collects data, and you need to know what you need to do. Now, the good thing is that it's not gray. It's actually black and white. There's on these parts, there is specific regulation, and you need to know, care, and act accordingly. It's not that difficult. In this specific case, you need to make sure that the user whose personal information was collected is aware by sending an email or a notification and allowing them or giving them the option to delete that from your database. Second thing is, what is the definition of public information at all? Since the first day of Bright Data, we realized that we need to define. We saw that there is no definition. We tried to think about the most simple definition that everyone can understand, and more importantly, to follow that definition. And it's easy. If you can see the data without doing any sign up, any login, or paying to remove a paywall or anything like that, just think about opening an incognito browser and seeing the data, then the data is public. If you can't see the data without doing sign up, logging, or anything like that, and you can only see the data after these phases, it's not public, and our recommendation is don't collect it. If you'll try to collect it through Bright Data, we won't allow it. And this is also something that was adopted in our victories in the court last year when we had two major victories, both against Meta and then X. And I'm happy that this has become the de facto regulation or at least definition of what public data means, because clarity is important. You need to know what's good and what's bad, and that's the current situation. So again, just first and most important thing is to care, and then everything is actually easier.
That's very interesting. Yeah, you mentioned about the legal battles as well. Can you just tell us a little bit more about like what was the sort of the case, as much as you can, and why this is important for the future of the open data?
Yeah, so it actually quite a lot has become public already. So everyone are welcome to Google that, or to ChatGPT that, or whatever LLM you're using to find out more. But basically, it was two different legal cases, both in California, in which we were sued by these entities in an attempt to try and stop us from scraping data, public data, from their platforms, and stopping our customers to use Bright Data from doing the same. We were confident that this is wrong, and we were so confident that we agreed to meet in court, and eventually we prevailed in both cases. I can't think of a world in which we lost these cases, because it practically means then that it's a world with no web scraping, and then it's a world without AI. It's a world that we are trying to buy something online, and the prices are really, really, really high because there's no transparency. And if there's no transparency, there's no competition. It just doesn't make sense. Now, some lawsuits ended up differently because the scraping entity did it wrong, did it not in an ethical way, did all the wrong things instead caring, scraped the data behind the login, did it in an unethical way, burdened the website too much. These things aren't cool. You shouldn't do that. And if you're doing that and being sued, you will lose. But if you're doing it the right way, it's essential for the industry. I would say it's essential for humanity. Again, just think it's like a big thing to say, but think about a world where you don't have any AI model because they cannot get the data that they need to train the large language model. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of information is online.
No, that's great. I mean, this is very, very cool and very important to for everyone to hear, because essentially, although it might feel that it's a public knowledge and everybody already know about it, there's still a lot of question that people are asking: can we leverage this data? And LLMs are doing it already. Is it something that is sort of legal? So this is great to clear a lot of these sort of doubts. But being at the center of data access and scraping data, public data, what are the trends that we might not seeing and we are missing here? For example, for marketeers and enterprises, what are the better ways that they can adopt and leverage these scraping technologies?
Yeah, I think that marketeers is a good thing to talk about, because this is, I would say, top 3 trends we're seeing now by far. I mean, everyone used to live in search engines, and when I'm saying search engines, obviously I'm talking mostly about Google. It means that if you have a business, you need to know what's going on, and to know what's going on online, you need to know how Google look at you, how they see you, how they rank you, for which keyword. SEO, basically, SEO and SEM. But this is changing, and it's not just because this is what everyone are talking about that this is changing. It's actually what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of new startups that are raising quite a lot of money and building super cool products. We're using some of them to do the same SEO and SEM, so like search engine optimization, not on the search engines, but on the chatbots, because more and more users, are asking the chatbot and not the search engine. So we're seeing now an involvement of a completely new industry from an existing industry. It's not really the same people yet. So we see like the old school companies are lagging behind, but with new startups that are emerging now that are like completely redefining the search engine industry, just building it from day one on the chatbots instead. And it's a complete, I mean, eventually it's all about collecting the data in the context of a specific prompt. So asking about my, I don't know, florist in California, whatever, or the shoe that I'm selling in Vegas, whatever. It's not just doing that on search engines. It's also understanding how the chatbots are looking at the business. So we're seeing a lot of traction there, and it's not just a trend. We're seeing a lot of companies being built just to do that, and actually, I think it's very valuable. It's going to be big, I'm pretty sure.
That's super cool. And an interesting story that you shared with me just literally before coming live. Many our companies are leveraging data, scrape data, and they are clients of data scrapers like Bright Data. At the same time, they are working so hard trying to block scrapers. So they're kind of like a little bit of paradox. How do you manage this?
First of all, I love to be in this position. It's very interesting. To clarify what we talked about, I'm seeing the same people. Like it can be a CTO in a smaller company or a head of something technical in a larger company. That on one day they're putting their I need data hat and being a big Bright Data customer, heavy consumers, scraping a lot, which is great. We love them. And on another day, they'll put their other hat, which is I need to block scrapers from scraping the information on my website, on their website, because they own a platform. It's funny. It's being friends and vendors and partners, and also playing that game. I always like to laugh about that. It's keeping us sharp, that's for sure. And it's okay, actually. And as long as it stays on the technical sides, it's very interesting. We have a big research team that love these challenges. And sometimes when there's a new blocking logic, we need to figure it out. And I would say that's the most interesting part from a technical perspective when it comes to the Bright Data business. It's a good place to be in. You know everything that is going on both sides, so it's nice.
No, that's great. It's a little bit of sometimes cat and mouse play, which is fun. Essentially, in many different industries, you would have a little bit of push that keeps you trying and learning and keep on your toes. So this is great. You mentioned about one of the new products coming out from Bright Data. Can you just give us more information? What's next, and what are you launching soon?
Yeah, we're about to launch some big things. As we already serve most of the large AI companies in large scale, we have quite good relationship with them, and we understand the needs. We are building towards these needs. One thing that we already launched, so I'm not going to ruin anything if I'm going to talk about that. That's browser.ai. That's our existing massive browser infrastructure that is already being used to execute over 150 million web actions per day with an AI layer that helps you communicate better, easier with AI, with the website. So basically an infrastructure to everyone who's building an AI agent and needs to do stuff online. All of our focus is to make sure it is working smoothly without being blocked. That's our core business and value to the world. And now we're working on making it work faster. It needs to be as fast as a human. And then it needs to be much faster than a human. That's going to be like the next leg. a big thing that we're about to release in a few weeks, which I'm not going to uncover completely now. It's basically, so as a company, because our scale is so big, we're actually collecting large chunks of the internet for a while. And we believe that thanks to our ability to do that in such a large scale, then we can actually bring to the world something very powerful when it comes to finding specific things. So think about a deep research kind of tool that is going as deep as possible because you practically have access to the whole internet. It's not a deep research that will end up with a nice, valuable summary that you can use to get a decision. It's a deep research that is going down to the bottom, as deep as possible, deeper than any other company in the world, thanks to our scraping abilities. So really like a couple of weeks and it's going to be out. We already have beta customers using it and very, very impressed and happy. And the roadmap is long. Stay tuned.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, as a sort of a final question, we always end up with a little bit of futuristic. So as AI is evolving at the same time, the content generation evolving, what does the future look like in 3 to 5 years for data scraping and the technology and also bright data, obviously?
So I think that the boring answer or the boring subject to talk about, because everyone are talking about it, but I'm still going to talk about it because I truly believe in it, is AI agents. I just don't see a way in which agents won't automate humans. It's just meant to be. I don't need to sit on my laptop and work all day doing stuff online if an agent can do it for me. And there's a consensus about that. This is why it's boring. But I truly believe that. And being one of the layers of that infrastructure that allows you to communicate with websites, and we see a lot of agents being built on top of that infrastructure, it's very interesting to see how it evolves. Everyone are building now. The adoption from the end users is not there yet, but it will come in a few months' time. And then it will get interesting. And the other part, which is, I think, less trivial to talk about, but again, it's something that we're seeing and our customers, really like focused on, is how can I use the data and who owns the data? So everything that is related to copyright. All of the cases that we were involved, it's all about the data collection process. This is what we know to do the best. This is where we set the tone. This is where we set the de facto regulation. But after that, it's a different story of who's using the data, if the data copyright protected, can it be used for training and for research, yes or no? There's a lot of litigation going on right now. I think that this is a good thing because it just surfaced all the issues, and then the regulators will have to figure it out, and the legislators will need to make new laws. It has to happen because AI isn't going to disappear. It's not going to go backwards. It's only going to be bigger and take a bigger parts of our life. So all of these legal elements of the copyright and protection will be changed. I'm 100% sure we're going to see major changes in the next 2 to 3 years, and it's going to impact a lot of other industries. Very interesting to see how it's going to evolve. And for bright data, for me, it's obvious. I mean, our growth is immense thanks to these new industries, as well as the older industries that still needs a lot of data. We just see it growing and growing and growing. Everyone needs data. If you're the top AI developer in the world, and if you have a brick and mortar business that you need to know what's going on around you, the information is in the internet. It's just going to grow, and we're only going to keep innovating. That's for sure.
Awesome. Very exciting, Or. I'm looking forward to see how things are changing as rapidly as possible. We at GenAI Works are also excited that we want to collaborate and help shaping the future by, sharing this kind of, guidance and learning materials. Any final thoughts?
First of all, thank you very much. That was very interesting, just to put my thoughts and communicate them. Final thoughts are that when you collect data, make sure to do it the right way. There is a right way to do that. And actually, everyone are welcome to reach out to me to Bright Data. We're always happy to give a good advice and to give also data if needed. And I think that just what's going on in the AI industry right now is just the tip of the iceberg. And we're going to see a lot more in that. And data is fueling this revolution.
Awesome. That's the final note. AI is fueling the AI and agent revolution. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Steve.